Once again, to welcome everyone to this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Sunday evening. I hope everyone had a very great day, a wonderful day, a relaxing day. And if not, we hope that we can make your day better. So today we have two new guests joining the podcast. We would like to say hello to Miss Jada and to Miss Cares. If not, how you ladies doing today? We can make your day better. So
Good.
today we have two new. That is good. Okay, yes. I have some serious echo going on, and I would like to say hello to Miss no idea where it's coming from. Care?
Me too.
If not, how you ladies doing today? We can make your day better. So
Good.
let's see what we got going on. Good. Okay. All right. So today we're going to talk about feeling pressure. No idea where it's coming from. And if anyone, hold up, y'all. Let me work on this echo real quick. Let's see. All right, so today we're going to talk about feeling pressure. So while I'm working on this echo, if Karis, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself, give them a little bit of your background and where you come from?
My name is Karis. Sorry, I'm trying to talk while hearing
while
this,
I'm working
but
on this echo,
my name is Karis,
would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself, give them a little bit of your background and where you come from?
And yeah, I've grown up in ministry. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so I will be going to ministry school in the fall at SUM at New Hope Church in Eunice. So yeah.
Okay, that's good. Good. Jada, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jada Lockhart. I am 24. I'm the interim student pastor at Celebration Worship Center in Sulphur. I love student ministry, it's my passion point. I love seeing young people chase hard after Jesus, after their calling, exploring their gifts. I'm also from Lake Charles, Louisiana, born and raised here. I went to a leadership internship at Colorado Springs, Colorado, for a couple of years at New Life Church. Moved back home and been here ever since, and I love it.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So both of y'all are actually involved in the church, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's good. Karis, you got your okay, there we go. I can hear you now. Good, good. Okay, I think we have the audio under control now. We do apologize about that.
Yes, sir.
So, feeling pressure. I want to give a little introduction about that. Okay, there we go. I can hear you now. Good, good. Okay. Feeling pressure could come in many shapes, forms, and patterns. And sometimes it's very hard to control, and it's very hard to deal with at times. Good, good. Okay. Feeling pressure to come. Hold up, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm still getting more echo. Okay, mic check. Okay, so, and when we're dealing with pressure, it comes from every different angle and every different situation in life. And Karis is in high school and Jada is in college. And of course, I'm an adult and I have kids, several kids, a wife, and everything else. And we all tend to manage pressure in different ways. So, Karis, if you don't mind, just give a little brief description or certain situations how you may handle pressure, whether it comes from being in high school, whether it comes from your faith, or whether it comes from just your friends, or just different situations and different scenarios where pressure could come about.
Yeah, so I guess just growing up, because I always had the church as my foundation, I kind of have a different approach to peer pressure and just my experience with that. I kind of chose to surround myself with, sorry, this echoes bad. I had to choose to surround myself with people who kind of believe the same as me, but I've had situations where I was spending the night at a friend's house and they asked if a guy could come over, and I would
those were the situations where I felt so awkward, but I always chose to stand up for my faith and to stand up for what it looks like if a guy would come over. And so I just always, Proverbs 13:20 always stood out to me. It says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. So I just always chose, I know personally for myself, to surround myself with the wise so I would become wise. And so that's kind of my stance on peer pressure, is just sticking to what I know, even if it may be awkward. But the companion of fools will suffer harm. So I just always chose.
Okay, Jada, can you hear me? Okay, there you go. Would you like to go ahead and add to your experience?
Yeah, sure. So, I think that pressure can look a lot different, like the different ages you have. And I've just been thinking about that a lot. Like in high school, it looked a lot different. I didn't
Hmm.
handle it as well then. Now that I'm college age, now it's like pressure looks different, whereas it might not be like grades so much because I'm not actually like in college, but I'm like college age. So it's like it's not so much pressure for grades, but now it's like pressure for marriage. When are you going to get married? When are you going to settle down? Like all that kind of stuff, or like what's your career going to look like? You start to get those questions a little bit more. And so I think something that's really helped me over the last like couple of years has really just been um, like trusting in the Lord. And I know that sounds like so cliche, but it's just so true, like, realizing that, like, the pressure's not on me to make this stuff happen, but rather I can rely on the Lord and, like, what His plans are, and I have a lot more peace really just not listening to the noise of the questions because you can get wrapped up in the noise of all these questions, and I'm sure Karis, can attest to that too, like, "Where are you going to college?" Like, "What are you gonna do?" Um, and it's like I've had to really, like, set boundaries with people and just say, "Hey, you know what? Like, I don't know yet, and that's okay." And just really trusting and leaning into the Lord. But yeah, just practically and renewing your mind as well, like knowing that the Lord created me to be me, and He gave me a calling, and just
Right.
trusting that.
That's good. That's good. So, as a parent, I wonder a lot, how much pressure do we put on our children? Um, Not only to just be successful, but to follow the direction and the will of God. I have three beautiful young girls, and sometimes I question, am I applying too much pressure on them to spend time with God or to just have a relationship with Him? So, with both of you having parents of your own, do you feel like sometimes parents could be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Overly aggressive, maybe? Don't throw us under the bus too much, but do you feel as though we apply too much pressure, or do you think that it's something that should naturally happen? Whichever one of y'all want to attack that question first. Okay, I'll pick. Jada, you go.
Okay, I was about to unmute, but I didn't know if she was going to. As far as like being successful, my parents have always done really well with not pressuring me, like believing in my dreams, like even if they were crazy. Because whenever I was young, I wanted to be everything under the sun.
Hmm.
So they've always been really good as far as success, like, and knowing that that can look different. It could look like going to college and getting a degree, getting your master's or not. Like it can look a lot of different ways, and they've been really supportive of however that looks. Especially like in ministry, it can look any kind of way whenever you're following the Lord. But as far as like growing up, and they are Christians. Grew up in a Christian home, and so I did feel like at times it was a lot because I mean at that age I didn't really understand this whole Christian thing. It was like, oh, my parents do it, so I have to do it. And so I felt there were mornings where I would like fake sick because I didn't want to go to church because I was like, this is for the birds. Like, I don't want this. And
Right.
so, but they continuously like pushed hard for me to go to church and be involved and things like that. Which I guess now I'm thankful for. I am thankful for it now. Like at the time, I was like, "This is annoying. Like, why are you putting so much pressure on me to like follow the Lord?" But I think it can get too much sometimes. Just depending on how you do that as a parent. But I think I'm really thankful for it now because I have a really solid relationship with the Lord, like serving Him, doing ministry, and it really did pay off. So I think it's just a fine line that I think you have to figure out as a parent. I'm assuming like what's too much, what's not enough, like because the Lord and the Bible obviously say like to train up your child in the way, and they'll
Right.
continue on as they get older. And so,
Right.
so yeah.
That's good. That's good. So if you was to advise a parent as far as dealing with that, what advice would you give to a parent or to an adult that's trying to make sure that their child is willing to follow the directions and the leadership of God?
I think I would say to explain the why, because I think for me, there was never a why. It was just you go to church. Like this is what we do.
Right.
You follow Jesus. You grow up in the Bible Belt, you follow Jesus. It's just what you do. But there was never really like, why do we follow Jesus? Well, like what's the heart behind it? And the why, and what are your motives as a parent? Like why you want me to follow Jesus? Like maybe you share your story about why you follow Jesus, because I think even at a younger age, like kids, they're always asking why, right? Why this? Why that?
Right. Right.
Mommy, why? And so why does this happen or whatever? And so I think even at a young age, like they can understand like why do we do this? Why do we follow Jesus? So I think that would probably be a huge reason or a huge thing that you could do is explain the why behind why we do this.
Okay. That's good. That's good. It's funny because my wife and I we sit down and we explain that same scenario to our kids and we try to explain why to them. And that's to me, that's one of the biggest important factors that you have to do is explain the why. And once they understand the why, then it's sort of left up to them if they decide to go that direction or not. And as a father, I want to see my kids, and as I'm sure my wife feels the same way, but we don't want to. And I said this. Let me back up and say it this way. My wife used a very good example that we don't want to force you to do anything against your will, but we do desire you to follow the will of God. And you know, we look at their body language, we look at how engaged they are, and it sort of move us in one direction, but we still try to give them that freedom or that understanding to make that choice without forcing them. Hey, this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're gonna do. But we do say, as long as you're living under our roof, you will go to church, you will believe in God. But then once you get out on your own, and you said it earlier, train up a child in the direction they should go. So as they get older, they won't depart from it. We solely believe in that. So let's see. Karis, mic check. Are you there? Can you hear us? Unmute your mic. Or do I have you muted? I think you mute. You should be able to unmute it.
Okay.
Okay, you're good to go. I think the echo is gone. So
well, I still hear the echo, but I'm trying to do my best to hear you too.
That's good. That's good. So the question that I asked Jada was, as far as parents, we could apply a lot of pressure on youth, on our kids, as far as following the direction of God. What advice would you give to other kids or other youth as far as when they feel like they're being pressured to go to church or pressured to believe in God or pressured to do this? What kind of advice would you give, let's just say teenagers your age group? Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So yeah, I guess my experience is a little bit different than the past. So, or than kind of Jada's. Like, I kind of grew up in a household that wasn't exactly stable, and so there wasn't really a foundation of strictness, or there just wasn't any stability. And so, however, I did have other people in my life, and other people that I looked up to, like my grandparents and even my mom too, of just that expectation to make good grades and go to church and not have sex before marriage. You know, it's just like stuff like that, like just the typical stuff. And
Right.
and that was my heart too. Like I wanted to be a good kid, and I wanted to do these things, and I've never really desired to live that completely worldly life. But kind of like Jada said, I would have loved to hear the why behind it, and why does Scripture say, or where does Scripture say that, and why am I supposed to not do that, you know? And so, and I think that's if I could speak to kids, like, and even parents, like, just explain the why, and even just, I feel like that if kids know that, and then if parents know, like, hey, if I could explain this, because I feel like talking with some parents, it kind of feels awkward at times to sit with your kid and explain why I'm doing this. And a lot of parents will say, like, well, I don't have to do that. Like, I'm a parent. Like, just listen to me, you know? So I would say, just from both perspectives, just to kind of hear each other out. And if kids hear the why behind something, then maybe that would make the communication in the relationship a little bit better.
So you brought up another good topic. Why is it so much pressure to talk to your parents about life in general? Why, as a youth? Because in my house, and when I grew up as a child, it was very, for the most part, it was very comfortable for me to go to my mom or my father and talk to them about girls or money, cars, or anything really, food. I mean, it was a comfortable environment, and I tried using that same technique with my kids, and I like to call it an open door policy. Hey, my door is always open. If you dealing with something at school, if somebody's trying to get you to do something that you're uncomfortable with or that you know is wrong, come talk to me about it. I'm not gonna go beat nobody up or go find that 14-year-old boy that's trying to flirt with you and hang him by the ceiling fan. I'm not gonna do that, but I definitely don't want you feeling like you're alone in that situation. So why is it so difficult, as in this generation or this current generation? Why is it so difficult for youth why do they feel so much pressure to do so?
Yeah. I think part of what I've experienced is, like, I know it's like my family, I feel like there's not really any sense of, like, relation, like I don't know, with my parents, not until recently. There was never like, well, I've been in your shoes, and I know how you feel. And so I feel like unless there's that, like, oh, I could see why you would be upset about that, that doesn't make me feel comfortable to go up to you and, like, you know, ask for advice and stuff like that. So I feel like incorporating, like, as parents, maybe like incorporating, just like bringing back memories from when you were a child, or from when you were a teenager, and making it more, like you said, the open door policy. Like, you can come to me, and not just saying you can come to me, but like giving examples of, like, I was a teenager and I had parents too, and I feel that way too. And then as kids, like, just going back to what the Bible says, honoring your father and mother, and just being open to their wisdom and their guidance, and just acknowledging that they are much older than you, and have a lot more wisdom than you do, you know?
Right. Jada, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I agree a lot with what she's saying, like using your past experiences, because I think that's where a lot of, like, teenagers and even young adults, where we're like, oh, you just don't understand. It's like,
Right.
because we never heard that you have messed up. Like, we know that we look up to you, but we don't want to look up to perfection. Like, we want to look up to someone who has been there, done that, and can tell us the story. That way we can learn from that. And a lot of, like, the pressure for me, like, not to talk to my dad. Like, I have talked to him a lot about stuff, but over the years I've really had to learn, like, with coming to him, that, like, every single time he's like, I'm not disappointed in you. I love you. And that was it for me. The pressure came from, I don't want to disappoint you. I look up to you. I respect you very highly and I honor you. And I don't want my life to disappoint you. And so that's where the pressure came for me. But every single time my dad would be like, hey, I'm not perfect. And I'm not disappointed in you. And so that really helped, is just reiterating that, like Karis was saying, like past experiences. And also, I still love you. You can do this, this, and this, and I will always love you.
That's good. That's good. So to move the conversation away from the parents, because y'all throwing me under the bus right now and I'm starting to sweat. Dealing with a more of a school environment. Let's just say you're at school, and I really believe a lot of pressure that you deal with in life comes outside of the house. Whether it's at school, whether it's at a party, whether it's at a restaurant. And it's hard to blend in but stand out at the same time when you're a child. You struggle with, I want to fit in with the crowd because it's the popular thing to do. But I also want to stand out and be my own individual. So let's just say if you see people that's your age doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, but part of you want to speak out, but then the other part say, well, I'm not going to say nothing unless somebody else say something. Have y'all ever dealt with that before? I'm gonna flip a coin.
Yeah, so I recently I've dealt with this. So there was one situation where I was spending the night at someone's house, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I was there. It was me and two other girls, and one of the girls, it was her house, and she was like, I'm gonna have one of my guy friends sleep over, and like she kind of just said it, kind of just slipped it in there. And it was like midnight, and I was like, I cannot drive home right now. Like, it's past my curfew. Like, I'm 20 minutes away from home. So like my automatic reaction was like, I told her, I was like, well, at first I was like, I don't know if I should say anything because like this is her house. Like, I can't tell her not to have someone over. Like, what? So I was freaking out, and then I just like, I kind of just brought it back to like, not only do I not like agree with this, but look at the way it looks. Like, if something were to happen and someone were to find out that I was even in the same house as another guy overnight, like that looks really bad. And so I ended up telling her, and I was like I'm gonna have to go home if he spends the night. And she was like, well, I'll tell him to back up. Like, basically tells me like, you're just gonna have to leave. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I start freaking out more because like I can't drive. Like, if I get pulled over right now, like that's past my curfew. And so I ended up, thankfully, I asked the other girl, and she asked him to leave. But in situations like that, it's really like, for me, it comes down to, what does this look like?
That's good. Okay, you just locked up on us. You there? Okay. So Jada, you go ahead and add to it. I think Kara's having a pause.
Yeah. So I've had situations definitely where, I mean, especially in high school, it's, there's a lot of situations you can get yourself into where people are like, hey, there's a party this night, or we're all going to go do this, or like, hey, here's some drugs, want some? Like, you can definitely get yourself into situations like that. And obviously even in college and stuff like that. But I feel like I've always been really good at like sticking to what I believe in and just being like, hey, nah, like I'm not going to do that. Like, if you want to do your thing, but I'm not going to do that. But I've never been one to like to step up and say something if I see something. Which is something that in my adult life I've really wanted, just with different things. I've really wanted to be more of a person that, like, if you see something, you need to say something. If they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, illegal, like whatever. Because I've always been like non-confrontational, don't want to get in people's business, whatever. But if somebody's going to get hurt, or if it's a serious situation, like, you do need to step up and speak up if you see something. But yeah, definitely, like, I've always kind of been the person that I'm almost too much of an individualist where I'm just like, I don't care. I'm not going to do that, but you can go do that.
That's good. That's good. So there's a question that came in from the stream. Let's see. One of the questions is, what is the biggest life lesson you've learned at your age, at the age you are? Jada, go ahead and see if you could tackle that question.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm super excited to answer this.
Okay.
So I feel like the main thing at my age at 24, the lesson that I have really been learning over the last like 4 years, really, maybe 5, is that like there's really no time limit. Like, who sets the time limit on our life of when you need to be married, when you need to have kids, when you need to get a college degree? When you need to do this, this, or this, when you need to retire, when you need to whatever. And I've really been asking my question of like, who places that time limit on you? Who does that? Because it's not the Lord. The Lord has his own like, timing and stuff like that. And we hear about that. And I'm really learning to lean into that of when people ask me questions or the pressure comes of when is this gonna happen? When is this gonna happen? Or when are you gonna do this? I've really learned to like settle into and trust the Lord's plan with my life. And I know I keep saying that, trust the Lord, but it's really like it has to become real to you, and there has to be a real revelation of that. Of there's no pressure on me to meet certain things by a certain time. Like
Right.
whenever it's good for me, the Lord's going to give it to me. If I'm going to have it if it's good for me. And I really have had to learn that truth over the last couple of years, that if it's good for me, the Lord's going to give it to me when he sees fit for me to have it.
That's good. That is good. That's good. Okay, Karish, can you hear us? I think your mic is muted. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, there you
Sorry, I have no idea what's going on.
go. Yeah, I'll explain it to you after. That was the question that popped up that Jada just answered. Would you like to go ahead and try to answer that question?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest lesson I've learned, I feel like I've learned so much just like growing up in school. I think it's like been the biggest learning experience ever. But I really learned that your character is very important, and a title can only get you so far, but your character is what will sustain you. And so I can preach all I want. I can tell whoever I want about Jesus and preach on the streets and all of this. But if I don't have good character, then that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing. And so I've just been taking these past few years of my life, and even entering into Bible college in these next 2 years, I just really want to focus on my character because, like I said, your title can get you so far. It can only get you so far, but your character is what sustains you there. So
that's good. That's good. So as we get ready to end this podcast, I want you both to really think of some key things that if you was standing in front of a crowd of youth right now, and you really want to drive that message of feeling pressure to them, how would you end your meeting, your conference, to drive that feeling pressured home? What would you say to a crowd to really drive that message home?
I'll go first. So I think I heard this correctly. So if I'm on the wrong track, just be like, that's not what I asked. But I think if I were to just talk about pressure in a crowd, am I answering this right? Am I on the right track?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. I think the biggest advice that I would give is to just remember who you are and remember your why. Because at the end of the day, temptations come and go, and someone may ask you something, or even Jada said practical ways like, we're going to college. And like, I know that in this past season of my life, that was a huge pressure, was like, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do with your life? And then when I saw in Bible college, it's like, oh, you're going to Bible college. So, it's like, that's just a lot of pressure from a bunch of different people. And so I think just what I would say is just remember who you are and remember why, because in moments like that, you're able to, one, stick up for what you know and who you are. And I want to go to Bible college, and I want to learn more about Jesus and learn how to preach his gospel. So that's kind of what I went to with that. But then with high school, it's like, remember who you are, like, remember what you stand for. And so in times of like, hey, do you want to go to a party with me? Or, hey, do you want this? Like, no, I don't. Like, that's not what I believe. And so it's like, just going back to who you are and your why is what I would say.
That's good. That's good. Jada?
I think that, I feel like, first of all, that's a crazy pressure, but I have thought about that many times where I'm like, if I could just have the world's audience for a second, like, what would I say? And so I feel like I would say, like, these people didn't die for you, so don't live for them. And what I mean by that is, like, the Lord is eternal and his love is eternal. And so it's like, why am I going to live for the affections of people who are finite? And people who after high school are not even going to remember your name or things like that. Or they might, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, why would you live for things and for people that are perishable, that are finite? Why would you not want to live for someone who's eternal, and someone that who loves you and his eyes are ever on you, and like is your number one fan, your champion, the lover of your soul? I could keep going, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, why wouldn't you want to live for something, or someone rather, that's eternal and who loves you? Like, why would you want to live for the finite people who might not remember your name, will probably get you in trouble, will probably lead you into things that you never wanted to be involved in, and so on and so forth. So I think I would say that. Why would you live for these people if they didn't die for you?
That's good. That's good. I think what I would say is, if I was, as an adult, going through everything that I went through in life, I think one of the biggest things is that I would say is, listen to your parents, listen to adults that you trust, that you have a relationship with, that you have an understanding with. Seek their wisdom, seek their understanding, and especially if they have a relationship with God, develop your own relationship with God. I believe if I had some of those, which I had my parents and I knew of God, but I didn't have my own relationship with him. So when I dealt with what the crowd was doing versus what I really wanted to do, sometimes I leaned toward the crowd versus leaning to what God, the direction of God. So the biggest thing that I would probably say is, develop your relationship with God, but also seek the knowledge and the understanding of your parents and your adults. Because believe it or not, your parents only wants the best for you. Their sole purpose is to protect you, to provide for you, to cultivate you. And that's all they want to do. So it might not be to your own understanding, but it's in the directions of God's understanding. So understand your parents, give your parents a chance, give them the opportunity to direct you and to lead you into the future, into the path that you're trying to get to. I think that'll be the biggest thing that I would do different, because I could think of numerous times my parents tried to give me advice on whether it was financial, whether it was relationship, whether it was just dealing with small things. And I'm like, they don't know. Oh, they too old. They're not hip. They don't know how to use a computer. They don't know how to type, But then come back around to it, it was like, wow, if I would have did it the way he said at first, I was like, okay, I could have avoided a lot of mistakes, or I could have avoided that situation. So biggest thing I would say is, listen to your parents, and then also develop your own relationship with God, because without that, you'll come back around to him, but it'll be a long time, and things didn't change by the time you have your relationship with God. So that's definitely what I would do. So I want to say thank you both for really taking the time out your day to really come and speak on the podcast. And I want to thank everyone that is watching, everyone that is here. This is the first video back since Easter, and we do apologize for the technical difficulty in the beginning, but the next videos to come will be better and better and better. So we want to thank you all for coming by. If you have not hit that like button, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more. Karis, Jada, once again, thank you both for taking time out of your day to speak on this. I would love to have you guys back again for future podcasts, just to sit around, talk. Next time I'm going to be drinking some coffee. But I really do appreciate you all, and I hope you enjoy. So if you have any questions, please leave your comments in the chat. I will reply to all comments. Once again, thank you all again for coming by.